Hi everybody, and welcome to our bookbinding demonstration today. We'll be focusing on the French web stitch, which is a very common sewing used for case binding or hardcover book binding, which is used to sew the sections together. And the pattern looks like this. I've used different colors so we can see it a little bit better, but we have pairs of holes along the spine and crisscrossing threads to join those sections together. So let's get started with our basic tools that we'll need and materials. We'll need an awl, which looks like this, but if you don't have one and you have a needle works fine, or you can put a little hole into a scrap piece of wood and put the back of the needle into that hole with some glue to hold it in there. This works as a really great awl. Need some thread, and embroidery thread works really well for sewing books together. And sections. You can use any paper. It's nice when the fold goes with the grain, but if not, that's okay. And you can mix and match paper as well, like in this book. You can see different colors and sizes are in this book, so it doesn't even have to be all one piece of paper. Just use what you have. And optional could be end sheets as well. End sheets are the first and last pages of books, and often they're decorative, but they're the ones that get glued to the hardcovers. So in this example, I pulled some peel paper and tore some pages out of an encyclopedia. I chose some farming pages, getting really into gardening, just thinking about self-sufficiency and connecting to the environment and the land. So this might be a little gardening book for me. And the number of sections. So inside you have as little as one section, but up to about 8. In this case, I might be having around 6, and that's a good even number to use. So in setting up this book, our first step is to make a punching template, where we'll be lining up our holes each time and punching through. So you can use any piece of scrap paper that's cut down to the size of the sections. So here I cut down a little piece of scrap. Just lighting. Yep, there we go. Good lighting. And for this template, we'll have a hole or a station at the head and the tail, and these are about 1/2 inch from the end of the paper. So 1/2 inch here. Then we'll have 2 pairs for our web stitching. And I made this one about 1 inch from the head, and this one about 1 1/4 inch from the tail, just so we know really easily if the section has been flipped. That's a good way to know right away. And then from this first hole is another hole 1/4 inch away, and the same on this side. So these are both pairs of 1/4 inch. If our book was larger, we might have another pair, so 3 pairs of holes. But for a small book like this, 2 is probably sufficient. After I made marks with a pen or pencil to mark off those areas, I used scissors to cut these little tiny triangles, as you can see, out of those lines. And the reason for that is so that our awl can fit really nicely into that little area. So we have our template ready, have our sections ready to punch. Now let's punch our sections. Pull this down. So to punch your section, be sure the pages are lined up to one side the best that you can. And then open up to the middle. And line up the template to the edge of the section. And then using whatever awl you have, carefully just go at a very low angle so that the hole is punched pretty straight, like that. And repeat for each station. Just like that. And there are the holes punched along the spine there. You'll repeat that for each section. It can be helpful to open it up and maybe have the spine facing you. I can show that technique. Maybe you just have a needle and that works as well. So this is how you do it facing you. And hopefully all of the holes line up. And I've done a little bit of pre-punching. So you can join those in as well. Here's our sections all punched. Not totally perfect, but they're ready to sew. Our next step is to measure out some thread, and the length of our thread should be the height of the section and then the number of sections and add a length to account for knots. I have 8 sections total, so measure 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll wax the thread using beeswax. This is a wax candle, which you can use any candle, but just keep in mind that the ones with additives might leave a sort of colored, sort of chalky texture, which isn't quite as nice as the smooth and transparent wax, but it'll get the job done. I'll attach the needle like this and do a little trick where I take the end of the thread and leaving a couple of inches like this, and then pierce the thread with the needle in the middle. Like that, piercing it, and then draw it down past the end of the needle and then pull it up. And this creates a smooth knot there. Now we're ready to sew. So we'll start at the bottom section, an edgy, and start by going from the outside to the inside, the first hole. Leave yourself a tail of a couple inches like that, and then exit out the next hole like that. Go from the outside to the inside with its pair at the next station. And go in and out the next two holes. Or out and in, rather. Exit out the last hole. And pull pretty taut. And now we'll add our next section by carefully flipping it on top. Go in the top hole. And out the next hole. Here we need to link the second section to the first section by going down behind the thread that's there, behind the needle, and then pull it through. And then back up and into the next station, like that. Now exit the next station. Go down behind that loop and up and into the next station. The inside at this point should look like this. We've got long threads here and then spaces missing, which are the pairs of stations. Our last step is to exit out the last station and pull everything pretty taut, not so tight that you're tearing anything, but pretty taut there, and tie a square knot with the end of the thread and the long end of the thread by going left over right, tie down, right over left, tie down. Now you can bone fold, or if you don't have a bone folder, any kind of smooth surface like that works really well. And add your next section. Go up and in. And now, when we're at the pair of stations, you can see we have this X shape. And we want to go under the arm of the X that's right under our next station. In this case, as I'm looking at it, it's the upper right arm.
Yes.
Pull it tight and enter the next station. So it should look kind of like that, where it's leaning a little bit to one side. But as we add another section, we'll go under the opposite arm, so it'll balance out. So again, going under the upper arm, pull it tight, and into the next station. With the last one, pull it pretty tight, give it a bone fold, and we'll do a kettle stitch where we go from the inside of the book to the outside and one section down, pull it through and leave yourself a small loop. Oops. Pull it back out if you pull it too tight. Small loop like that, and then pass the needle through that loop to make a knot. That's called the kettle stitch. Next we'll add another section. And repeat those steps, going in and out and linking. And now we'll go underneath the opposite upper arm of the X. And back in. Out. Through there. And another kettle stitch at the end. Through, creating a loop, and a knot. And then pull fold like that. Now you can see that the pattern is kind of going one way and then the other way, but it evens out. And you just repeat this process of sewing until you get to your end sheet. and one more, so 2 kettle stitches at the end. Then cut your end of your thread